Okay, welcome back. I apologize that I didn't have video for you last week. Unfortunately, we actually had a death in the family, and well, family comes first. But this week I do have a video for you, and we're going to go over the repair of basically the driver's foot area, kind of where that little wheel well section of the firewall is. That's what we're going to fix today. Okay, so the first thing I did was come in here with the grinder and I cleaned off everything. I got all the seam sealer out of it. I cleaned off everything in the corner here. And then I drilled the spot welds and I took this fender bracket off so that I could get in here to work. As you can see, it's kind of, well, it's not very good in there. So what we're probably gonna end up doing here, because there is some rust on the back side of here, right? You can see there's a spot weld here. I'm gonna drill it out. And then on the inside here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you can see in the bottom corner there, it's all crusty. So we're gonna get all of this crap cut out. So let me get that going. Okay, so with all the rust cut out of here and everything cleaned up a little bit, what I usually do next is I'll go ahead and get out a piece of Bristol board, or I don't know what you call it elsewhere. It's basically like cardstock, and I'll use it to basically make a pattern that I'll transfer to steel, because if I screw this up, a sheet of this is $1. A half sheet of steel is $84 now. So I'd sure as hell prefer to screw up $1 compared to 84 of them. So I'll make a little pattern here and we'll get it so it fits just right, and then we'll transfer it to steel and start putting our shape to it. So with a rough template cut of what we kind of have to make here, we can take it and transfer it over to a piece of sheet metal. Now I'm going to leave this section here because I want to make this as its own separate piece, because we have a curve coming this way, and then it needs to have like a gentle curve. So it's easier to make that as its own separate piece. So with our pattern transferred, we'll go ahead and cut it out. The majority of what I'm going to use to cut it out, a lot of the square stuff we'll probably end up using the grinder for. So what I'll end up doing is I have a barrel shear, and I'll basically just shear the outside perimeter of this, and then we'll actually make the final cuts and trim it up. Okay, at this point I've kind of rough fit the panel that we made. I didn't use anything special to bend it. All I used was my knee and a soft-faced mallet. And overall, it fits pretty well. Give me 2 seconds and I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so on the inside here, I've tacked it in a few places because it just makes life easier. And then I've taken my shrinking hammer and a dolly, and I've gone around the panel and just kind of knocked everything so it's nice and flat, more the way we want it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and weld all this part of it in, and then we'll work on getting the bottom part in and trimmed. Okay, so this is what it looks like now that we got it all welded in here. I don't think it looks too bad myself. Keep in mind, this is another one of those things that in reality, no one will ever see this. That's where the inner fender bolts onto right there. So all this is tucked in behind the inner fender, which is part of why they rot out. So what we have left to do here is, obviously the fender bracket has to go back on here. I gotta take and trim the bottom of this out, and then we'll have to make the piece that goes in the corner here. But I've run out of time to do that today. So that's going to be in this week's coming video, because I'll take all the footage from tomorrow and I'll put it with that, because otherwise the only other thing I'm going to have in that video is going to be repairing the little holes around the windshield and then welding just this section back in the floor here. So we're going to take a little bit of this and put it into that. Well, for a video anyway. Well, hopefully you found this even somewhat entertaining and maybe even possibly educational. It just goes to prove that to be able to make parts that are not available, you don't need to have special tools. The majority of this was done with a grinder, just a cheap hammer I actually bought from Harbor Freight many years ago when I was in the States. And I used a dolly and a shrinking hammer, and both of those were bought on sale at a Napa years ago. And I don't think I paid more than about $10 or $15 for them. So you don't have to have a whole bunch of fancy tools to be able to accomplish what you need to accomplish in order to complete your restoration. Till next week, I hope you enjoy your projects as much as I do mine.